So I welcome everybody to the Tuesday, May 11th Newmarket Planning Board meeting. I will start by reading the emergency checklist. So bear with me, please. As chair of the planning board, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Members of the public may attend tonight's planning board meeting in person at the town hall auditorium or attend remotely using Zoom. If attending in person, please wear a mask and maintain social distancing. If attending by telephone, we'll be using Zoom. In accordance with this emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional accessibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, to participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656 and password 9271-8105, or by clicking on the following website address: https://zoom.us/j/955-271-8105. This meeting is also being aired on Newmarket Channel 13 for those wishing to watch on their TV, and streaming at www.newmarketnh.gov/channel 13. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the board at https://www.newmarket.gov/planning. That can't be right, Diane. That says planning or board?
It's the planning board.
Planning board, that's right, okay.
In other words, the planning board's webpage on the town's website.
Okay.
Okay?
C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with that. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-559-3617, extension 1321, or email at channel13@newmarket.gov. During the meeting, if the public is unable to access the meeting, in the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. All right, so I will start with Val Shelton.
Here and no one in the room.
Bill Doucette.
Here, nobody in the room.
Jane Ford.
Here, nobody in the room.
Tim Rosignol.
Here at Town Hall.
Jeff Goldnoff.
Present and no one in the room.
Mikhail Zahorik. Is Mikhail on the line?
I think he's absent.
No Mikhail, okay. Scott Blackstone.
Present and alone in the room.
And I, Eric Bodeman, am present and alone in the room. So let's start by doing the Pledge of Allegiance. We may.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Thank you. Next up is public comment. Is there anybody from the public that has anything to say about anything on the agenda tonight? Give everybody a few more seconds. I don't hear anybody or see any hands being raised. All right, I will close public comment and I have 7:05. And next is review and approval of the minutes of April 13th. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Doucette. Is there a second?
Second,
Jane?
yes.
Okay, is there any discussion, comments, changes anybody would like to see? All right, hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. All those in favor, when I call your name, say aye.
Aye.
Bill Doucette,
Aye.
Jane Ford,
Aye.
Tim Rosignol,
Aye.
Jeff Goldknop,
Aye.
Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
and I, Eric Bodman, will abstain as I was not present for most of the meeting. Thank you all. Next on the agenda, the first item is continuation of a request from John Tyson of Hampton, New Hampshire for his purchase and sales agreement for property at 75 Neal Mill Road. Pursuant to RSA 674:41, he is requesting permission from the town council to build a single-family home and driveway access for a single-family home at the property at 75 Neal Mill Road, Newmarket, New Hampshire, 03857, at tax map R7 Lot 1. The town council has requested review and comment from the planning board regarding this request. So, since the last meeting, we have had interaction with the town's attorney, and I believe everybody should have a copy of the letter that he wrote relative to this. Has everybody seen the letter from Attorney Radigan?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody have any comments or questions relative to? No? Okay. Since that last meeting, we also received a couple of new letters. We received a letter from the Newfields Conservation Commission and another letter from Southeast Land Trust, I believe. So, you know, based on that letter from Attorney Radigan, I think my viewpoint certainly is that I'm not comfortable with having the applicant go through a huge expense doing a bunch of plans that may not go anywhere with the council. So my suggestion is that we move this on to the council and let them decide on how they want to proceed. Does anybody, I'm opening it up for comment, discussion. Everybody would like to get your opinion on that. Go ahead, Bill.
So Eric, just to let you know early on, I have a contrary opinion,
Okay.
which is perfectly fine.
Sure.
So I'm of the opinion that our to request to review and comment to the town council so that they can make an informed decision.
Understood, and that's certainly a valid opinion, Bill. Anybody else want to comment? Any other planning board members?
Bill, I have a question. Could you expand on what you would be looking for the planning board to be doing at this point in time?
Yeah, so I think the planning board needs to reach a level of satisfaction that design has been done in such a way that it satisfies the town engineer, the town agents, including road agent, fire chief, police chief, all that, and the board itself. So full design.
So I would concur with that comment. Relative to that should be one of our comments to the council. That absolutely all of those issues should be addressed.
is it okay if I have a dialogue here?
Absolutely, go ahead, Bill. Feel free, absolutely.
So, my thought on that, Val, is, it feels like one step too much of speculation. So we're gonna kick the can down the road and say, well, we're not gonna review this until you say yes, and then we're asking them to say yes if it goes back to us to review. So it seems like everybody's kind of trying to push off a decision mutually here, and at some point that's got to stop. And I don't know that it's really in the applicant's best interest that we I think it's very clear what they're going to have to do, and that's all.
So
Go ahead, Bill.
can I get a motion on the table and maybe we can
Discuss it?
discuss it and make amendments to the motion?
Absolutely. Are you ready to make a motion, Val? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Feel free.
In regards to the town council, the planning board to review and comment on the request by John Tyson of Hampton, New Hampshire, to build a single-family home and driveway access at 75 Neal Mill Road, tax map R7, lot 1, which fronts on the Class 6 portion of Neal Mill Road. I make a motion to direct the town planner to draft a memo to be reviewed and executed by the planning board chair, stating the planning board has, 1, undertaken a review of the request, including review of RSA 674-41-1C1, public hearing information, letters from various interested parties, various Class 6 informational materials provided by the town planner to the board, member participation in the May 6, 2021 New Hampshire Law Seminar, A Hard Road to Travel, New Hampshire's Law of Local Highways, Streets, and Trails, and has consulted with the town's legal counsel on the matter. 2, as a result of the reviews, the planning board offers the following comments to the town council for their consideration. The town council should consider the following issues and whether to allow development. 1, the condition of the road. 2, the width and grade of the road. 3, drainage infrastructure. 4, extent of demands on public services. 5, the likelihood of future layout and connection of existing road networks. B, as to the first, the town council should review the request as it pertains to the adequacy of the road for year-round safe access and egress for town emergency vehicles, and that any upgrades be made as may be required by the town road agent in consultation with the town engineer to ensure the road is upgraded to service the proposed use, including weight limits and appropriate access and turnaround for emergency vehicles, and any requirements dictated by RSA 231. C, in regards to item number 4 of A above, the town's legal counsel should review and approve a limit of liability document and not permit a building permit until the limit of liability is filed and all required improvements to the road are complete. D, that in regards to item 5, we do not believe this item applies. There will be no further development in this area due to surrounding conservation lands. We do not see a single-family house as premature and scattered developments, since there are other houses in the town which are serviced by similar long private driveways or are located on a Class 6 road. And the likelihood of any further subdivision of the property would be minimally given the restrictions and conditions of the property and width of the access, and having no frontage on a Class 5 road. We also do not see a single-family house in this location being contradictory to the master plan. E, should the town council deny the request to issue a building permit, the planning board recommends the council pursue the comments by the planning board in 2008 in regards to reclassifying the Class 6 portion of Neal Mill Road to a Class A trail. And then number 3, attached to the memo by the planning board to the council, the board meeting minutes on this matter should be appended.
Thank you, Val. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bill. Thank you. All right, so I've got to go through the list again. Hold on one second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'm Tim Phoenix. I'm counsel to the applicants. I'm just new into this, so forgive me if I'm out of turn. I don't know if the public hearing is still open or whether it's been closed, but before the board votes, I'd like the opportunity to respond.
okay, we'll consider that. So there's a motion that's made and seconded. So, gotta go through the list here. In favor?
Eric,
Oh, we want to open it for
before
discussion?
vote on the motion, you should have discussion.
Yes.
Public hearing,
Yep.
reopen it, I should say, you would do that before any voting on the motion.
Right. So, we have the motion and a second. What's the board's position on this? You want me to, I should probably just poll the members? Have any input? Scott Blackstone, what are your thoughts relative to the motion and what Bill has said?
To be perfectly honest, it was a pretty long and detailed motion. And I guess I would like the opportunity to see it in writing, but from what I understand, I think I agree with it. I think there are a lot of issues. My personal feeling is a lot of the decision-making of the town council is going to be very different from the kind of decision-making that the planning board makes. It's going to be, for lack of a better word, more political and less technical. And so I think it makes sense to make sure that the town council is on board. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Jeff Goldenough?
So, just so I the motion was made and it wouldn't come back to the planning board, it would just go to town council? Is that how the motion was made?
Yeah, so,
Yeah, go ahead,
yeah,
Bill.
it's my understanding that the planning board's role in this under the RSA is to provide comments to the town council as to what they should be considering in regards to making a decision as to issuing a building permit on a Class 6 road. The town council is the governing body. They're the only body that has authority as to whether or not they will issue a permit. The role under the RSA, as I understand it from my own review of it, from attending not just this seminar, but a prior seminar, as well as a discussion with town legal counsel, is that we're to provide comments to the town council as to what information they should be aware of or requiring or considering before they issue a permit.
And not, okay. Oh, sorry, can I keep talking?
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
So it's not to issue guidance based on a provided plan. So essentially it's just to issue our thoughts on what the town council should consider, not supposed to view a plan and then give comments on the applicant's plan.
Correct. The motion is not for the town council to have the planning board approve a road plan. The motion is more that.
No, sorry, Val, not the motion. I was just listening to what you were saying that the planning board's role was, and you made it sound like it was not to issue any thoughts on a specific plan provided by the applicant. It's more of to just inform the town council as to what they should be asking the applicant for?
They should be asking that whatever, any improvements to the road would really need to be, needed to the road would be the determination of the road agent and the town engineer to ensure the public safety of the road for emergency vehicles, public access. The road has to stay open, even if it's subject to gates and bars. Everyone needs to really just be able to open the gate. So it is the comment to the council, as per the motion, relates to what the council should be requiring if they're going to consider issuing the building permit relative to what should be required in the adequacy of the road, condition of the road, the width, the grade, the drainage, and then there's requirements under the road RSA 231 relative to, you know, other safety issues relative to roads.
I had a different interpretation. I thought last time we were discussing it slightly differently, but that's,
Oh, and in 2008, it was very different as well, because our recommendation at the board at the time was that the planning board, basically the applicant come to the planning board, and we were doing a quote-unquote subdivision review, was the road section of the subdivision review. So the planning board was hiring the engineer for reviewing it. And then the planning board was voting on whether or not it met, you know, what our interpretation of the subdivision road regulations.
I would have to review the RSA. I could have sworn it reads that we would review the plan and provide comments to the, no,
Reviewing the request.
request.
And Jeff, to be clear, if the majority of the board wants to go down that road, we can go down that road.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
the planning board, the majority of the board wants to go through that process of the, basically design review, we can do that if we choose to.
Yeah, I was trying to understand the motion. It was lengthy, and I was trying to digest it all really quickly. And quick and digest it. But, okay, thank you.
Yep, sure. Tim Rosignol, any thoughts, comments you want to share?
So, yeah, a couple things I thought of. Val, you mentioned that the zoning for that lot would not allow for future subdivision. Is that correct?
But it's not the zoning, it's the restrictions. The lot does not front on a class 5 road.
Okay.
In order to subdivide that property, they would have to upgrade that section of Neal Mill Road to a class 5 road. I don't believe the width of that would allow it. And then there's a whole slew of items. That's where it would come before the board. If there was any subdivision, it would have to come through the planning board for any approvals.
Yep.
And they would have to present a plan where they're upgrading in not just that section of the class 6 road, but any lots that are gonna front would need to front on a class 5 road.
Okay.
And then the town would have to, basically, the town council again, would need to, adopt the class 6 road as a class 5 road, if it was brought up to those standards. Not just dedicated, but accepted.
Right. Okay. Thanks for that clarification. And was a question that I had from the last meeting, coming out of the last meeting, and also came up on the recent letter from Southeast Land Trust, was that the town should consider is what's the plan for the gate, right? So whether it's going to be one existing, the gate would stay at the same location, or whether the gate would move to, one gate on Old Lee Road and one gate further down Neal Mill. The plan would be, I think that would need to also be resolved, and that would have to, several requests for more information on that as well.
As I understand it, under the class 6 law, subject to gates and bars, the gate is at the beginning section of the road. It cannot be locked. It has to, you physically have to be able to open it up. The whole public, anyone from the public.
Yeah. So, okay, so since it's still a class 6 road, the plan would not move the gate to a new location to allow access to the new residents without having to pass through a gate. There would still be a gate that would have to be passed through.
That understanding of the class 6 road subject to gates and bars.
Okay. Okay.
You all set for now, Tim?
Yeah, I think I'm all set for right now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Jane Ford?
There's no precedent for this at all. This would be a new precedent-setting ruling, is that correct?
Yes, it would be. For Newmarket, yes.
Okay.
Let's clarify that. We have another class 6 road in town, Hershey Lane. And there are 4 or 5 houses on that class 6 road. I don't believe we have
But
any
that's,
other.
that is a
roads.
subdivision of land which came under the planning board's purview, so it really is not a comparing an apples with apples situation. Because we own the road and it's for a subdivision, and that's where the planning board had jurisdiction.
No, Diane, not the one we just did.
Oh, I'm
This is
sorry.
Coming
Forgive me.
off of Grant Road. These homes have been there since.
Oh, okay, forgive me, I thought you were talking about our recent 77 Hersey Lane, forgive me, okay.
No. There's the class 6 portion as you come in off of Grant Road.
Jane, anything else?
So I guess I'm just not sure. So is this precedent setting or no?
Building on a class 6 road?
What, that, but the idea of us working, before or after the town council on this
Yes.
issue.
The
There is-
RSA simply states that the town council doesn't take action on the applicant goes to the town council, not the planning board, but the town council can't take action without getting review and comment from the planning board. That's the RSA.
Okay, so I think my question though is we had talked about Eric's point about, let's send this to the town council and then have them come back to us. What am I missing?
but
Because I'm
that's not-
missing something.
That's not what Valerie is suggesting at this point.
Right.
That's the part I understand that. So I guess what I'm throwing out on the table is, Eric, the difference from what you want versus, Val's position. I just wanna make sure I'm clear
You
on
think-
that.
I want it to go to the council. My suggestion is to go to the council and let the council make the decision. They can ask for questions, they can ask for plans, they can have
Right,
everything, and it wouldn't come back to us. Wouldn't have to come back to us.
okay, that's my question.
Yes.
Okay, all right, now I get it, thank you.
Bill, do you have anything else you want to add?
Bill, you're on mute.
The only other thing that I would add, Eric, is that planning boards routinely review road design, driveway design, things like that. I'm not sure the town councils routinely review that.
That certainly is true. So,
Can I clarify in the motion? I'm not sure, Bill. I think you were thinking, I was asking, the motion was for the town council to review that? It was as what was required by the town road agent and the town engineer as to the road.
right. Okay, so,
Eric, Jeff has his hand up.
oh, geez, I can't even see it. Jeff, go ahead, I'm sorry.
There it is. So there's nothing in the motion that was a recommendation one way or the other, like an up or down recommendation. It was just a simple list of guidelines, like maybe guidelines they could choose or choose not to follow, kind of, basically. It wasn't like we recommend. Oh,
That's correct.
Correct, yeah, my interpretation of the RSA is we're supposed to provide comment. It doesn't state in the RSA that.
or a comment that says we think this is good or bad, or, you know what I mean? It's an indifferent set of comments, right?
Well, if we felt that this was contrary to the master plan, that would be our comment. And again, I'm throwing the motion out there. Someone might believe this is contrary to the master plan. And, you know, that could be our comment. Or if we feel this is, you know, having a house out there is scattered and premature, you know, development, that would be our comment.
Right, I was just asking, as written, there's no thumb up or thumb down. It's just kind of a list of items that we're suggesting the town council to follow.
correct.
It's
consider.
Yep, that's correct. That is correct. All right, so I was, I know this technically didn't have to be a public hearing, but we opened it as a public hearing months ago, I guess. So, I guess I will reopen it, but I'd ask people to not repeat comments you've made previously, in previous meetings. If there's any new comments people would like to make, I guess was more than welcome to make those. And so I will start with Attorney Phoenix. I know you had said you wanted to speak.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As I said, I'm Tim Phoenix. I'm an attorney from Hopeful Phoenix, Gormley and Roberts in Portsmouth. I'm here tonight with and on behalf of Susan Spinelli and John Tyson, who are the applicants who have this property under agreement and want to build a home on it. I'm also here with Chris Albert from CSA Environmental. You've met with Chris and seen his original submissions. I'm not sure, I don't really have necessarily an objection. I just have a sort of a summary of my understanding based upon the detailed motion that Ms. Shelton read. Our issue is we didn't want to spend subdivision or site review type money for the kinds of things that is needed before the planning board and then go to the council for whether they're gonna give a building permit. We just don't wanna do things twice. So my thinking at the time from reviewing the record, and I apologize, I was not involved in this until recently, so I don't have the institutional memory of 2008 or even the last few months. But in 2008, it was a very similar application, what I would describe as more impactful because the owner wanted to do a longer upgrade or driveway, wanted a horse barn and what have you out there. And as I understand from reading the application and going through the process and the comments, most of the comments from CELT, other conservation-minded folks and neighbors was essentially similar to today. And the planning board reviewed it, did not go into a detailed review, and referred it back to the council. And the council, according to the minutes, approved it subject to conditions, which included some of those same, what I call heavy review issues. So we're not, I'm speaking for Susan and John without getting approval from them first, but I think with the motion, as long as we go one place to do everything that's heavy, if you will, and the significant expense if it's needed, we just don't want to spend the money up front with the planning board, a recommendation made, and just, let's say it's a positive recommendation, and then the council denies it. That's what we're all about. So I'm just curious and wanted to fully understand whether Ms. Sheldon's motion basically takes it out of the planning board and puts it on the council. They can do what they want with it, but it's going to be their decision what's necessary going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Phoenix. Val?
I just want to be clear that in the motion, that the comment by the planning board, if it's approved, you know, as it was presented, is that the town council should absolutely be reviewing this request based upon the adequacy of the road for year-round safe access and egress for town emergency vehicles. And any upgrades, you know, which may have to be made are going to be specified by the town road agent, who is responsible for safety issues of the public, as well as the town engineer, be looking at any proposed upgrade relative to the width, the grades, the drainage. There's a lot of issues in regards to access to this property, given the current condition of the road. And I would hope that the town council would rely heavily on the town engineer's review of that, of whatever the proposal is by the applicant in regards to their plans for upgrading the road.
Okay, thank you for
Right.
that.
Yeah, but Val, again, if that motion were to pass, the council could still take that and say, thank you very much. For instance, say we will approve it with the condition that you go back to the planning board to go through all the heavy lifting. They could still do that.
Absolutely, as they did in '08.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not trying to not have anybody review this. We're trying to, I mean, I think like Attorney Phoenix says, get this to, get through by the political end of it. I see, Josh Lanzetta with his hand up. Go ahead, Mr. Lanzetta.
Hi, good evening. My name is Josh Lanzetta. I'm an attorney at Bruton and Berube. We're located at 601 in Dover. I'm here this evening with Selt and also with Dr. Barnett. I want to acknowledge Attorney Phoenix's comments, and we do understand that the applicant wants to have one process. Respectfully, and I'm not going to repeat what we said, I think the board likely understands our position on this matter, but if the board is considering this motion this evening, we request that at a minimum, the board add a contingency that or as a recommendation that if approved, this application would come back to the planning board for full review. With respect, the town council is not equipped, regardless of whether or not they have the road agent or the town engineer, to review this sort of application. The planning board is equipped to review this sort of application. I do think this is somewhat of a chicken before the egg sort of analysis, where although the statute may or may not require a certain level of scrutiny, it is at your discretion to exercise more scrutiny than not in order to make sure that this application is properly submitted and that you can actually make real comments to town council with respect. With one plan set and a few dimensions, you really have no ability to make any comments to the town council other than asking them to scrutinize the application under a fine lens. And I think that it's still, I think it's still punting this down the road. So respectfully, it would be great to have that motion include a recommendation that if approved, this comes back to the planning board for full planning review, where there are more experts that can be involved. That's all I have.
May I respond to that?
Thank you, Mr. Lanzetta. At this point, Mr. Phoenix, no, I'm going to respond myself first. With all due respect, I disagree with that viewpoint. The council has the ability to hire the same professionals that the planning board would hire to make any reviews. So to assume that they're not going to hire the people that we would hire or competent other engineers to review it, I think is just flat out wrong.
Thank you. All right.
I don't consider this punting at all.
I think what I'm trying to suggest is that we don't make that assumption, and that the planning board attempt to require that. I think that's the point.
Understood. Hand up, I can't. I'm having a hard time scrolling through. I don't see any hands up.
Mr. Phoenix has a question.
Okay, Mr. Phoenix, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to respond to Josh's comments. Hi, Josh, haven't seen you in a while. Josh's request for the appendage to the motion is exactly the concern, illustrates exactly the concern I have. The motion that Ms. Shelton posed requires or recommends a lot of activities on behalf of the zoning of the council. The council can add to it or not as it sees fit, but the way it's worded, if that were added, we'd have to spend what I do the heavy lifting before the council, and then come back and have to do heavy lifting before the planning board, and we only want to do it once. That's the whole point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phoenix. Is there anybody else out there that would like to speak to this subject? Oh, I saw somebody raise their hand.
Mr. Barnett.
I'm sorry,
would like to speak?
I can't see your name. I can just see R.
Mr. Barnett.
Okay, Mr. Barnett, I'm sorry.
Yes, hi, Josh Barnett. I'm at the end of Neal Mill Road. right at the beginning of where the driveway would occur. And, you know, my basic concern is that this whole area is a public recreational area. And I think the public needs to have the ability to participate in a dialogue about how, you know, this land gets developed. That it shouldn't just be a couple of people who make that decision. And I think in part that's why I support Mr. Lanzetta's comments about having it come back to the planning board, simply because that will allow this public process to go on. I think this is a, you know, if this is one of the last Class 6 roads in town, then really that's a kind of public town decision to decide about what to be done with this. So my recommendation would be to keep that in the back of your minds, even though the RSA might say that you don't have to. And that would, I think, reassure a lot of people in town that decisions are not being made, you know, summarily.
Yeah. So, thank you for your comments, but, you know, I disagree with what you're, this has been a public process. The first meeting, there were a lot of people on the line. And I think you're inferring that going to the town council is not a public process. That's a public process. Everybody that wants to come and comment for or against such a project has the ability to, excuse me, both here and with the council. So this is not in any way trying to short circuit any public process. Josh Lanzetta, I see your hand up again.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify my comment. We're not asking the applicant to go through two processes and do the heavy lifting at both at the council and with the planning board. I just want to clarify that. I think that legally, regardless of how this is going to work tonight and moving forward, the town council, this has to go to the town council for review and either an approval or denial. And in asking for the contingency or the recommendation, if you will, for the contingency that it comes back to the planning board, what I'm suggesting is that, you know, this would go to the town council for a meeting that would allow the applicant to understand if this was going to be approved or denied, subject to full planning review. And then it would come back down to the board. And if there's hearing or some reason at the planning board level that this cannot move forward, then that would be the outcome. But so we're not asking for kind of double review. I think what I'm saying is if the applicant truly does want to take the pulse of the council to understand if it's worth bringing a full set of plans to bear, then why not do that? Why not allow them to do that? Make the recommendation that the approval, if granted, would be contingent upon coming back to the planning board, where I don't want to argue that you guys, if you don't want to argue that you are the experts, and I understand that experts can be hired at both levels, but I think that this is the better board to evaluate this sort of application. This is going to set precedent in the town of Newmarket, regardless of how many Class 6 roads there are. And I think that this is the board for this application to be in front of. So we're not asking for double review. I just wanted to clarify that. I think a quick kind of, you know, excursion to the town council may help in some way or another to give the applicant an answer, and then the review could be done here. Thank you.
If I may respond, just very briefly.
Go ahead, Attorney Phoenix.
The problem I have with it, and forgive me if I'm repeating because I don't know if I made myself clear, is Ms. Shelton's motion, which I understand and does make, asks for some specific things to happen. And those things would take time and money and effort. And now the request is to add on to that, in addition to that time and money and effort, send it back to the planning board. And that's what we want to avoid, because at the city council consideration, the public can speak, the public can argue there, send it back to the planning board. Council don't do anything, just send it back to the planning board, etc. But I'm nervous about a motion that says, do both of these things. undertake all these issues, road agent, all those things, and send it back to the planning board. Thank you.
If there was an
Understood, thank you.
or in that motion, would that alleviate your concern?
Is that you, Josh?
Go
Yes,
ahead, Mr.
sorry,
Phoenix,
John,
you can
I'm gonna-
respond to that.
Well, if Josh asked for it, my first thought is I shouldn't agree to it, but, I still like, I think I prefer, the motion, and then we can, go before, but if the board felt more comfortable with it, I'd rather have an or.
Okay, Val Shelton, I saw your hand up.
I have no issue in amending my motion relative to, commenting that the council should consider having the planning board work with the road agent, town engineer, and however someone wants to define that. I wouldn't, I have no problem with that, but as you said, Eric, even our role when we're going through subdivisions, we're relying on the town engineer, relative to our subdivision requirements for roads in their consultation when we're meeting with any applicants. It's, that's just how our planning board operates.
Right, from what I've heard from everybody tonight is, I don't think anybody is, arguing or disputing the fact that if this moves forward, it has to go through an appropriate engineering review. With the road agent, fire chief, review engineers for all kinds of things, grading, stormwater. It's about the process of how we do that. Some of us would prefer to send it to the town council and they can hire whoever they want to do it. Others want us to do it and then send it to council with a recommendation. I like us sending it to council tonight, let them do it, only because and I know Attorney Lanzetta just brought this up, is I would hate to see this applicant or any applicant go through this whole engineering review, town council, and have them just say, no, we'd never even consider this, sorry, you just wasted all your money. The council, if they're in front of the council can control that. So, that's my personal opinion. But, having said that, I think we've talked enough about this. So I know as far as, board members, planning board members, Val made I thought a very well thought out and put together motion. I know nobody has had a chance to see that, or actually, dissect that, in writing. Would the board prefer to delay this, have a chance to see Val's motion, and come back to the next meeting and talk about that, or is people comfortable voting up or down on the motion, as it is in front of us? I want to leave it up to you guys to decide if you're comfortable or not, so, go ahead, Mr. Doucette.
I'm comfortable voting.
Okay, Jane? Jane Ford?
I'm comfortable voting.
Okay, Jeff Goldknopf?
I'm comfortable voting.
Scott Blackstone?
I'm comfortable voting, but I think having an or statement amendment would be valuable. I personally don't see the council wanting to go through all that work. I would imagine, my opinion is they're gonna want the planning board to go do that if they approve.
Okay, that makes sense. Tim Rossignol?
I will be fine voting, and that's assuming that we get another read-through of the motion, correct,
Okay.
Val?
Okay, all right, and I'm fine voting also.
Tonight?
So,
Vote tonight, yes.
Val, would you like to walk through that motion again? I also think, that I guess we're probably comfortable adding that or in there at the end.
I would add that in under 2B,
Yep,
right, that they
Yep.
would have.
yep.
Or
Would you,
to the planning board?
yep, yep, would you mind reading that motion again for the board so they can, digest it one more time?
Do you want the whole motion read?
I think so. I
Yes,
think there's
please.
some
I
confusion
think
out there.
first we need an amendment to the motion that under that 2B at the end, Scott, I think this is what you're referring to, that, the way it currently reads, as to the first three items, the town council should review the road, change the adequacy of the road for year-round safe access and egress for town emergency vehicles, and any upgrades to be made as may be required by the town road agent in consultation with the town engineer to ensure the road is upgraded to service the proposed use, including weight limits and appropriate access and turnaround for emergency vehicles and any requirements dictated by RSA 231, or to have the planning board do said review and approval.
I make a motion to that effect.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on that motion? All right, I have to go through the roll call. Val Shelton,
To the amendment, aye.
for the amendment, yes.
Aye.
Bill Pett,
Nay.
Jane Ford,
Aye.
Tim Rossignol,
Aye.
Jeff Goldknopf,
To the amendment, aye.
Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
and Eric Bodeman, I vote aye. So the motion passes 6-1 for the amendment. Okay, now Val, do you want to read the motion again for the benefit of the board?
So
I think I heard that request earlier.
I would make a motion to direct the town planner to draft a memo to be reviewed and executed by the planning board chair, stating the planning board has, one, undertaken a thorough review of the requests, including review of RSA 674:41, IC1, public hearing, public hearing information, letters from various interested parties, various class 6 informational materials provided by the town planner to the board, member participation in the May 6, 2021 New Hampshire Law Seminar, A Hard Road to Travel, New Hampshire Law of Local Highways, Streets and Trails, and has consulted with the town's legal counsel on the matter. 2, as a result of said reviews, the planning board offers the following comments to the town council for their consideration. A, the town council should consider the following issues and whether to allow development: condition of the road, width and grade of the road, drainage infrastructure, extent of demands on public services, likelihood of future layout, connection of existing road network. B, as to the first three items, the town council should review the request as it pertains to the adequacy of the road for year-round safe access and egress for town emergency vehicles, and that any upgrades be made as may be required by the town road agent with the town engineer to ensure the road is upgraded to service the proposed use, including weight limits and appropriate access and turnaround for emergency vehicles, and any requirements dictated by RSA 231, or to have said review, or to have the planning board do said review and approval. C, in regards to item 4, the town's legal counsel review and approve a limit of liability document and not permit a building permit until the limit of liability is filed and all required improvements to the road are complete. 5, in developments, in regards to item 5, we do not believe this applies. There would be no further development in this area due to surrounding conservation lands. We do not see a single-family house as premature and scattered development, since there are other houses in the town which are serviced by similar long private driveways or on a class 6 road, and the likelihood of any further subdivision of the property would be minimal given the restrictions and conditions of the property and width of the access and having no frontage on a class 5 road. We also do not see a single-family house in this location being contradictory to the master plan. E, should the town council deny the request to issue a building permit, the planning board recommends the council pursue the comments by the planning board in 2008 in regards to reclassifying the class 6 portion of Neal Mill Road to a class 5. And 3, attached to the memo, which should be the board meeting minutes on this matter. Did we lose Eric? Oh, no. You're on mute, Eric.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I muted myself. So does everybody have that memorized? Is there any more comment relative to that? If there's hearing none, I will take a vote. If you're in favor of the motion, say aye. If you're opposed, say nay, please. Bill Doucette.
Nay.
Jane Ford.
Aye.
Tim Rosignol.
Aye.
Jeff Goldknopf.
Nay.
Scott Blackstone.
Aye.
Val Shelton. You're muted, Val.
I am voting aye, and I just want to say for the record, because I've been involved with a lot of the conservation in that area, I really hope that the town council takes to heart the number 3 here, that if they, number E, that if they do deny this, that section gets reclassified as a Class A trail, and that an application is not brought before this planning board in the future again over this matter. So I vote aye on the motion.
Understood. And I, Eric Bodman, vote aye. So the motion passes 5-2. Thank you, and thank you all members of the public that were here for that. Thank everybody it was a good discussion. It's a difficult case. We'll move on. Next is 11.
Chairman. Just one question, sir. Chris Albert again, from CSA Environmental. For the record, is the town council letter privy to the public? And I didn't get a copy of the Newfields Conservation Commission letter. We did get the SELT letter today. And I'm assuming we'll get copied on the draft documents presented today from the board.
The conservation, I believe that the Newfields Conservation letter is online. It's on.
Is it? Okay.
It's in
It is on the
packet,
agenda.
the agenda. There has not been a letter drafted at this point. So that will become a public document when it's drafted.
Okay. The town council relevant? Is that public?
The town council is public, public information, sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty, on to 11 Chapel Street LLC. Continuation of a public hearing for an application for minor site plan review requested by 11 Chapel Street LLC for the conversion floor plus or minus 600 square feet of a barn to a commercial use for bicycle sales and repair for construction of parking access to support the use. The lot is located at 11 Chapel Street, tax map U2, lot 3 in the M2 zone. So, Ms. Hardy, do you want to update us on what has happened since the last meeting? And I believe
yes,
there is a
I would
staff recommendation also?
I would be happy to. Since our last meeting, we did have a TRC meeting on, I believe it was April 28th. I don't have my report in front of me. But we did have a very productive meeting, and we reviewed a lot of the issues that came up at the planning board meeting. And there was a lot of good exchange of information back and forth. And I'm looking for my letter. Please forgive me. I have a lot of paper. And as a result of that meeting, the applicant did go to the, here's my map, to the site plan. At the TRC, let me just back up, I found my notes here. Yes, indeed, the TRC met on 29th, and we reviewed the parking layout, the need for additional grading data, the removal and protection of trees, erosion control, snow storage, retaining walls, and the addition of protective bollards as a measure to protect that are adjacent to one of the houses that are there. And in response to them, resubmitted plans, and he actually did a reconfiguration of the so that there would be more width for travel lanes, and relocated the ADA parking space to the boundary of the property, incorporating some of that space for the in a shared fashion for better utilization of the very limited for parking. On the plan, he removed the 3 on-site parking spots at the last meeting, and the parking was recalculated. He did provide in the plan a lift to provide direct handicap access to the barn building, and notes were added to the plan regarding limitations on the hour of operation and clarifying that there would be no new light could possibly provide some impacts to adjacent neighbors. Did receive correspondence from members of the Newmarket Historical Society to the adjacent Stone School Museum, and I believe one of the representatives this evening and can speak to some of the things that were discussed in my conversation with him. Also, we received a formal letter from the Historical Society from John Carmike. Has been posted on the online agenda, and it is available for your reading. The concerns that they had were primarily that over the years, perhaps 24 months, there had been some conflicts between them and the property concerning the passage of construction vehicles from Apple Street property to the Stone School property, and there's of fire pits, lawn furniture, chairs that were actually property of the tenants that were encroaching property at the Stone School Museum. And I just wanted to clarify that that property is owned by the town of Newmarket lease agreement, and I see Mr. Provost here now, so he can speak to some of these things. About that after the construction had been completed, that there was a continuing encroaching vehicles and other vehicles across the property line, and and there were concerns about snow removal activities that was crushed stone rather, across the property, very unkempt and situation for the parties. Complaints raised about that. We do have a letter from the Historical Society, did some conditions to the plan, and I believe that these are all very reasonable and consider them.
Okay, so Diane, what's your recommendation in relation to the site?
Okay, well, there's some other issues with the site plan that I'd like to talk to you about. Yes.
The applicant's engineer is here, right, Eric?
Yes,
I'm
I
here.
believe he's on the line, yeah.
Get the plan up online and so the planning board can go through it.
Do you have it now, Valerie?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I go through it?
Please do, please.
Okay. For the record, Eric Weinrod with Altus Engineering. And this is the revised plan that we made revisions based on the April 29th TRC meeting. We resubmitted on the 4th in time to make this agenda. And I'll just briefly go through the changes that we made that Diane spoke so well about, and also I just want to point out that she's been very easy and flexible to work with over the last couple months getting us to this point. So prior we had head-in parking over here, and the handicap parking was in that location. We've relocated the handicap parking here using the aisle, the handicap space as our parking aisle, creating direct access to the building with a lift that would be put off the deck. Reconfiguring 2 spaces over here. This brown area will be a permeable surface and or pavement. The gray will be pavement. We computed the runoff based on that being on pavement. As noted, that there were parking stalls on the partially in the right-of-way or mostly in the right-of-way. We've actually removed those at the direction of the TRC. We've added some notes to the plan, as Diane mentioned. Note 11, hours of operation. No new site lighting is proposed.
and access to the Stone School shall cease on with a fence or similar may be installed by the abutting property owner to control access. And that note was put on the plan based on the TRC meeting and the information that was given to us at the TRC meeting, that initially they were willing to pay for the fence. And I'll go into that a little bit in a moment. We've also added some bollards at the corner of the building by the propane tanks and at this corner here where it's closed. And all those revisions were made on Get Back for the TRC. Today, some additional comments were brought forward to us. One was that our plan actually still says in the corner here, Board of Adjustment Plan, even though the title says minor site plan. We can make that change. Under note 2, we identified the parking calculation that there's basement, that there's storage and a bathroom down there, that the first floor is the retail bicycle maintenance shop, and the second floor was an office for the bike shop. And that is something that we actually had shown on our site plan for the Board of Adjustment. It apparently did not get into the notice. It did not get into the notice of decision. Diane brought that up to us today, and we recognize that there was a disconnect there. That has been on our plan through the TRC, through your previous plan submission in April. And so we're willing to take that off, not part of the condition of the approval through the Board of Adjustments. And we do recognize that there's been encroachment in this area for the residential unit, and there was some sort of things that were going on during construction and possibly even after, with cross access between the end of the house and the property line. And what we're suggesting, if the Historic Society does not want to install the fence, then we have no objection to installing a fence with wood posts and a chain or similar, but not a 6-foot privacy fence. We feel that a 6-foot privacy fence on a lot like this, it's a small lot, is not a good neighbor, and it just kind of taking away from the feeling of the openness of the top of the hill between the Stone Church, the Stone School, and this property. And I think that is a reaction to a concern, and I think that the openness is in keeping people out of there can be achieved by just a fence with a chain or similar type of device. And one last thing that with Brian, moving these 2 trees, and again, today came up in conversation with Diane that she'd like to see something replaced there, some specimen trees. My feeling is I'd rather see something small planted, like lilacs or some sort of shrubbery that is not going to create a large canopy and a root mass that will get into the travel surface. I think that may have covered everything. Diane, did I miss anything?
One of the things that I had recommended was that we have a note put on the plan.
Eric?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Val.
No, sorry, Chair.
Eric, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah, Chair Eric. So just a couple questions for
Go ahead.
Dwyer. So relative to drainage,
I don't know why it wasn't going through.
and the TRC may have already looked at this, but the proposed impervious pavement, does that drain into the lot, or does that drain over to the town property?
So that's a good question, is that by relocating it here, the high point of the roadway and area all is right at our edge of pavement. Everything drains in this direction. I have drainage flow arrows. You can see them. Everything does our site, so we're not draining back toward the Stone School.
Okay, and then question 2, I have 3.
Go
On
ahead,
your
Val.
existing, on the building that is basically right on the property line to the town area, does that have a gutter system, and does that water stay on your own property, or does that flow over to the town property?
That, from memory, it's a pitched roof in this direction.
Yeah.
And that water flows onto the town property. It has for however long that building has been there. So we're not changing that.
And then the third final question, I definitely would agree with, if you're removing any plantings, that replacements will be done, particularly to minimize anyone from plowing snow over to the town property.
So that was our idea, by having that wood post chain type fence that, I think if we put a solid fence, we're gonna plow up against it, we're gonna break it every year. By having the fence, you're not gonna be able to plow beyond it.
You all set, Val?
Yeah, as far as fencing, I think just
Yeah.
something more decorative would be, but given the, you're trying to improve the lot here.
Yep.
Well, you do split rail or something more appropriate historically, is it the granite posts with the chain between them? Provost might be able to give some input there.
Okay, any other board members have any questions? I can't see.
I do, Eric.
Go ahead.
I think what the engineer suggested, instead of planting trees that someday are going to, create large root masses and be large, instead do a shrub that is fitting with the density of the area. I think that makes good sense.
Thank you, Bill. Any other board members have any comments or questions? You have to speak up, because I can't see everybody. I can only see a few of you.
I don't think.
Question was asked of me and I was cut off. Can I ask my question and present my recommendation at this point, please?
I hear somebody talking, is that?
Diane.
Oh, Diane, I'm sorry, we can't hear you, Diane.
How about working?
Yes.
Can you hear me
Yes.
now?
Okay. Yeah.
Diane, you're coming in very, very low volume.
It's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just
There you go.
wanted to mention to the planning board that there seemed to be some confusion about what was approved by the zoning board of adjustment when this came to them. And I would like to see on the plan a note added which the decision of the zoning board of adjustment was on, I believe it was March 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Zoning board only approved a variance for use of the barn building, which is 650 square feet. They did not approve for office use or any other use. So I want to make sure that that's clearly stated, so there won't be any confusion going forward in the future.
Yep, I
Thank
agree.
you.
It's a valid, Diane, I'm sorry. Dane, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, I have to weigh in. I also agree with the engineer about replacing the trees. I think some shrubs there would be fine. I don't think they're gonna be a problem, isn't necessarily a good idea. I don't agree with the fence, not sold on necessarily on a 6-foot vinyl fence, but a fence with, I don't think is adequate to stop anybody from encroaching on the abutting property if they want, or they just step over it. Split rail fence or something like that, I would be more than willing to consider. Out there, what do other members of the board think about the fence? I think that's, one of the things we really need to get our arms around tonight is the fence.
Eric, at the town administrator represented that the town was going to install a fence.
So the town is going to install the fence.
That's what the town administrator stated.
And I see Mr. Provo shaking his head no.
Wait, yeah, I'll let Mike, well, you haven't opened up the public hearing yet,
Oh,
but
oh,
let
that's true.
me comment on that. I mean, I don't understand why the town administrator would be putting tax dollars towards a site plan improvement for a lot that is, you know, doing a change of use and coming before the planning board.
Right. That's correct.
And I'm not sure the council would support him on that.
I'll defer to Diane on that one.
And I just concur
one.
that that was stated at the meeting. There was confusion about who was going to pay for the fence. And I think when you open up the hearing, you'll hear from Mr. Provost, and he can clarify that for you.
Yep. Yep. Do any other board members have anything to say?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm sorry, I can't hear. Jeff, I see your hand up first. Jeff, do you want to speak?
Yes, please. I concur that I don't like the look of the large vinyl fence. I prefer to see something in the order of a split rail fence or something like that. My only other question, I didn't quite catch it, or it's slightly different now maybe at the PRC, was, is there anything going to be done to stabilize that what appears to be a pretty steep slope between the retaining wall on the side of the building? Not sure exactly how steep that is. Yeah, will that stay stable on its own, or is there something that you need to do until it seeds and loams and stiffens up?
It's just a 2-to-1 slope, and there's very little water really getting to it, so I don't anticipate it as a problem being stabilized.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's all my comment.
Thank you, Scott Blackstone.
Yeah, I think that the fence should be more substantial than a chain. I agree with you, Eric.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say? If not, I will open it up to the public.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see my hand here, Eric, but just one comment as well. I would agree that the intent of the fence is clearly to prevent not only the human and lawn furniture encroachment, but also plowing of snow and the debris that goes with that. So I think that whatever fence is ultimately settled upon should be and should prevent, you know, you don't want something that you could just continue to pile snow or even snow blow over. So it needs to be, unfortunately, neighbors, so it needs to be substantial.
Okay. All right, open it up to the public. Mr. Provo, do you wish to say anything?
Yeah. I live at 16 Beach Street. I'm on the board of directors at the Newmarket Historical Society. We do lease the property from the town. I've been a member there since 1968, so I've seen a lot go on. The reason that we were asking for a fence along there is, even though we had asked the property owner to cease and desist construction vehicles going through there last year, especially when we gave permission for the Stone Church to use a museum parking lot, was we didn't want construction vehicles going through there. There's been an established sort of pattern by the owner that it's okay to get over there whenever he wants. That's why we were looking at the idea of them putting up a substantial fence. Last winter, he did plow through, right through in front of the museum to connect the two lots. And it was actually plowed in by the person who plows the museum lot. But in the process, we ended up with crushed stones all over the parking lot and stuff. So we don't want to have to keep discussing it, back to it, and something that's substantial. There's people that walk through there, putting up a split rail, they're gonna climb over it. Putting up a fence with chains, they're gonna be jumping over the chains and stuff like that, and it's not going to solve the problem. So that's, you know, basically the museum's point of view. And we definitely need to get the encroachments off of the lawn area that they're on. There's like a 20-foot garden along where the stone wall is, another garden under the window, fire pit. It's just, last year there were lobster traps piled up out there. It's just been an ongoing issue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Provo. Anybody else? I don't hear anybody. Well, I guess I'll just add one more thing. So I have been up to the site recently, and I see where the crushed stone is and where it's close to the property line, and how I see how easily it could get plowed into the parking lot of the museum. I personally am not a fan of big white fences. However, I would throw out a suggestion that maybe, a condition is that they do some plantings there, do some substantial shrubs there, which would block anybody coming through there, driving through there, or plowing snow through there, which looks a little bit better than a fence. It's not gonna stop people from walking through there, but, some of this, a lot of this is really between two private parties, not really a planning board issue as far as I'm concerned. But I'm willing to just throw that out there for discussion and see what the board would like to do. Anybody want to comment?
I don't think the planting isn't going to work, only because it's such a built environment up there. Just looking at the site, I'm not sure that you have adequate area for that. And then, are they gonna last? Who's gonna maintain them? Are we gonna put a condition of in the approval, relative to maintenance? I think there are other options to privacy fences. Does it have to be, 6 feet high? Does it have to be white? I mean, the vinyl fencing comes in many different colors. They put a gray one in down at Shopmeyer Park. For the same reason, is to, not have abutters going, infringing on the abutter. So I think there would be some other options there.
That's a good point, Val. I mean, I'm personally more amenable to a 4-foot fence as opposed to a 6-foot, but I see Jeffrey with your hand up. Jeff?
Thanks. One of the items that we discussed at the TRC meeting was the flow of water across that area, and how a solid fence going all the way across may impede the flow of water eventually as gravel gets pushed up against the bottom of it, even if you raise it up a little bit. It was something that we discussed, and that it could become an issue down the road to divert water to flow across into a different area.
So, Jeff, can you, because I was really trying to ask that question. When you say water flowing, does water flow from the town property onto this lot?
That's the way that, I believe that was the discussion we had, and what the contours would show how flow would work across that. You can see that it looks like it goes up, up as you go toward the Historic Society building, or the Stone School.
It goes up to the Stone School. So the town lot flows onto this lot, is what you're saying?
That was what we discussed, yes, at the board, at the TRC.
I believe that is an 82 contour, so yes, it does flow towards our site.
Okay, and then the existing 2-bedroom residence, which is up against the property line, that all drains onto the town lot, and that has an 80-foot, so that's draining across the town lot because that goes down.
Yeah.
81 contour, I stand corrected.
It looks like there's a break by the word bedroom possibly, and then it flows towards Granite Street probably.
Right, that's exactly what it looks like.
That's what it looks like. And then if you're doing any of those privacy fences, they don't go to the ground. They're up about 6 inches.
6 inches? Okay.
6,
Yeah.
At least 6.
Do we not think a stockade fence would do it?
Or split rail?
I think
Split rail is what I meant to say, sorry.
I certainly support a split rail bill. I think it looks better. It's going to stop people from, it's not gonna stop everything from going across property lines, but, it's a deterrent. And, you know, again, if people are gonna climb over a fence, they're gonna climb over a fence, and, you know, again, some of it is, I think, beyond our purview. It's, you know, property disputes between neighbors are for them to resolve, not the planning board to try to problem in the world. What's the rest of the board think? I mean, I think from what I understand, we're ready for a motion. I think the one really unknown at this point is what do we wanna do about a fence or not a fence?
I guess my opinion
Sort of
from,
fence. Go
my
ahead, Val, sorry.
opinion, yeah, my opinion as far as the role of the planning board in this site plan review is if a fence is not there, I can't imagine that the person plowing is not gonna continue to plow through. We've seen time and again, you know, the plan notes where the snow storage is, and it just never happens in true life implementation. They're gonna plow wherever it's easiest for them to plow and put snow wherever they put it. So I do think from a site plan perspective and condition of approval that a fence should be there.
I don't disagree with that, Val. My point is that I don't think we need to have a fence that, you know, prevent anybody.
No, I think it should be preventing the movement of material from this particular application site to an abutter site.
Yeah, and I think, Val, from the letter from the Historical Society, that was the primary complaint, was the removal of material. No one's gonna put a lawn chair on the other side of any sort of fence, but the transport of, you know, crushed stone across would be prevented by most any type of fence that's put up. So I'd be in favor of not getting into the details of specifying a 4-foot or a 6-foot fence, but as long as it's a substantial fence, more than just a post and chains, I would be fine with that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we need to specify what type of fence, because otherwise, what somebody thinks is substantial, we not think is substantial. I've been through this too many times. I think it's easy for everybody, so everybody knows what to expect. Not that I'm a big fan of it, but I do, and I did see where stone was certainly easy to be pushed across the property line. So, you know, do we agree on a minimum 4-foot solid fence, or a post and rail fence, or, you know?
Split rail?
Split rail, I mean, yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we would have no objection to like a 4-foot high split rail fence.
I agree.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
4-foot high split rail fence sounds good to me.
Rest of the board kind of okay with that?
I agree.
I agree.
I think it would look better too, to be honest with you.
And I would support that. If the town wants to put up a different fence on the town property, well, hopefully that's not gonna be the case, but for different reasons. I think the reason for the site plan is that you're preventing the access to the other property. And we have required design review of fences on many other applications.
Yes. Yes, we talk about it far too often. Is,
Can I
public, go ahead, Jeff, I'm sorry.
One last thing is that I know from the parking lot over at the Scassi-Blaisdell Conservation Area that split rail fences over time definitely come to pieces. The rails often break. Is there a way to stipulate maintenance at all? Is that possible?
Well, the town, the building official is the code enforcement officer. I mean, they're responsible for site plan, for approved site plans to be maintained.
Right, in compliance, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
So if that fence were to ever get knocked down, the town has the ability, town code enforcement officer has the ability to go back and say you're not in compliance with your site plan approval, you need to repair that or replace it.
And issue a cease and desist on there, what was approved for operations if they don't.
Right. I'd like to think it wouldn't get to that, but we have the ability to
No,
do
but,
that, absolutely.
correct.
Yep. All right, so, I believe that already had recommended a conditional approval. We just had a lot of discussion. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll take a crack at it.
Oh, hey, oh, go ahead, Bill, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan as submitted with the following conditions: that a split rail fence shall be constructed along the border with the stone school, and that a note specifying the details of the granted variance be added to the plan.
And, Bill, do you wanna talk about, trees versus shrubs?
Yeah, and that the trees that are identified to be removed shall be replaced with shrubs.
Bill, just to flesh it out a little bit, one for one?
Yeah, 2 trees, 2 shrubs.
Okay, okay.
Then, Bill, there were additional, I think Diane had some additional conditions in her letter.
Yeah, that's why I just make this motion.
I know, I don't have the letter.
No,
I don't-
Well, I was cut off, so you
I have
didn't
the,
hear
I
what
have the
my
letter in front of me, but I
recommendations
only have
were.
the first page. I can pull it up though, hold on.
Would
We
you
can
like
just
me to
reference
review
the
them,
letter.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
The recommendations are that the 3 requests by the Historical Society be conditions of the planning board approval. And the first is that the adjacent property owner and tenants remove all encroachments from the property. The second, which has been addressed by the engineer, we discussed to see, is that access between the properties shall cease, including the passage of construction. And number 3 is supplanted, if you will, by recommendation or condition as stated for the split rail fence. And also there were some things that needed to be amended to the plan, including the title to reflect it's a planning board approval, not a zoning board of adjustment approval, that the data, the plan for the parking associated with the second floor be removed. Plan. The note on the plan that talks about at the expense of the abutter be changed to at the expense of the applicant. And we talked about the trees and the landscaping, so I think that covers everything. And the zoning board approval should be listed, and I think Mr. Doucette covered that one. So with that, I think, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay, Bill, do you agree to add those comments to your motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, is there a second?
Just a second, I think we should specifically say the fence is 4 feet tall.
Correct. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I'll do roll call. If you're in favor, say aye, opposed, say nay. Val Shelton,
Aye.
Bill Doucette,
Aye.
Jane Ford,
Aye.
Tim Rosignol,
Aye.
Jeff Goldknop,
Aye.
Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
and Eric Bodeman, I vote aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you all very much for your time. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is North Point Realty, Inc. There will be a public hearing for an application for subdivision at 258 Waterloo Falls Road, A and B, tax map U4, lot 68 in the R2 zone. Proposal is to convert the existing apartment units into condominiums. So Diane, in your opinion, is the application complete?
The application is complete. There's one question that came up when I was reviewing this, and I might ask, perhaps Mr. Doucette might be able to clarify. In most of the condominium conversion plans we've seen, there's been a description of what the exact ownership will be of the various spaces on the lot. So the area that is going to be owned in fee by the owners would be identified as anything that's going to be held in common would be identified, and there might be convertible space. But I didn't see detail on the site plan to that extent, and I guess I guess I have a question as to whether or not that is required under the state's condominium conversion laws.
And excuse me for 1 second, Bill, before you, respond to that, I just noticed something. I see Paul Rabinius on the line. Paul?
Hello,
Is your project?
Yes,
Yes.
it is, sir.
Okay, Paul and I have done work and do work together, so, based on that, I feel it's appropriate for me to recuse myself from this hearing. I will, mute my,
You're muted. Okay, I guess I'm up. So just following up on that, as far as completeness of application, I don't see that there's a condominium site plan here. I see it's an existing conditions plan.
That's exactly what I was asking the question about, Valerie, if you
Yeah,
were
so,
listening to me.
I mean, as far as application completeness, I don't think we have a completed application.
I concur.
Okay. Bill, could you answer my question, please? That I asked?
Yes, at least I have not been provided a condominium site plan or a condominium floor plan, which is a minimum standard for condominium conversion.
Okay. All right, thank
For
you. I
the-
just
for
wanted
the
to
statute.
clarify that. So it is not complete at this point, and that, my recommendation is that it be postponed until such time as we have that information.
Now,
It-
can I weigh in at this point? My name is Paul Rabinius. I live at 205 Alton Mountain Road in Alton Bay, New Hampshire. And through the wonders of technology, I'm speaking to all of you in beautiful Havasu City, Arizona. So anyway,
Good for you.
this was something obviously that through the zoning board of appeal, and the plan that was submitted initially was not an existing conditions plan. It was a plan that showed, the site plan for the actual structure. In the interim of all that, we were notified that what we needed for the town was a subdivision plan, and that plan is actually being produced, which will include that information that Diane is referring to. And she and I have been in correspondence together, trying to iron out the details, because we're sort of coming at this a little sideways. Part of that, I think, also has to do with, COVID and what we dealt with during the process, but nonetheless, that is pending, and I'm expecting to see that site plan that will be coming down within the next week. And I wondered if it's possible for me to, use that as a condition of approval, making sure that that's submitted to you guys, or does that have to come ahead?
I'll speak to that. So that does definitely have to come ahead. We can continue this public hearing till our next meeting so that you have time to submit that. I think you also should be aware that our town legal counsel will review all of your condo docs, or you'll have to submit your condo docs to town legal counsel.
Now, all of that has already been done, and we made the submittals to that, and we've been, put forward our fees, et cetera. So that has gone before town council.
Yeah, so Diane, I think just from application completeness, we don't have a condo site plan.
Right, okay. And that's what I wanted to get clarified. Thank you, Valerie. I appreciate that. And Bill as well.
So, any other input from the planning board
Motion to continue?
to a date certain we need, Bill? Diane, what's the next planning date? Meeting date?
It's in June, I don't have my calendar with me. Or do I? Wait a minute.
Maybe the 8th?
June 8th would be the next
June 8th,
meeting
yeah.
date.
Motion to continue to the June 8th hearing.
Is there a second?
Second,
Motion, seconded by Jane. Roll call vote. Bill Doucette,
Aye.
Jane Ford,
aye.
Scott Blackstone,
Aye.
and Jeff Goldknop.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Mr. Vinius, we will hopefully see you at the June meeting. But get the site plan into Diane, because there's a time period on that. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep. And
Okay.
Val, just for the record, you passed me in the roll call, and I vote aye.
Where are we? Oh, sorry.
Yep.
This was the screen. Okay, all right. Diane, you have that recorded?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, thank you. And I vote aye if I didn't vote. Okay, Eric?
okay, I'm back.
Back.
Alrighty, so next on the agenda is Eversource Energy, This public hearing is scheduled in accordance with RSA 231:158 to engage a tree pruning and cutting along Bay Road in the town of Newmarket. The proposed activity will include but not be limited to tree cutting, trimming, and removal of brush and trees. All proposed activity and criteria for action by the applicants will be presented and reviewed at this public hearing. So Diane, there's really no formal application associated with this, correct? So we do need to entertain a motion and vote to accept this application as complete?
And the application is complete, and Mr. Bernier is here. He's the arborist working for Eversource, and if you have any questions, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to accept the application as being complete?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Jane? Thank you, Jane. Discussion? Roll call vote. Val Shelton?
Aye.
Bill Doucette?
Aye.
Jane Ford?
Aye.
Tim Rosignol?
Aye.
Jeff Goldknopf?
Aye.
Scott Blackstone?
Aye.
And Eric Bodman, I vote aye. I'm sorry, now I will open up the public hearing, and I already forget the gentleman's name who was on the line, Robert
Bernier.
Bernier? Hi, Robert, been a few years, I think. Do you want to walk us through the plan real briefly, please?
Absolutely. So Eversource seeks approval from the planning board to trim and remove trees and brush along Bay Road, which has been designated scenic by the town of Newmarket. Our trimming specification remains the same. The branches 8 feet to the side, 10 feet below, and 15 feet above our energized conductors. In addition, we've identified 13 trees along the scenic right-of-way that we would like to remove. Those trees have been identified, a list has been submitted to the planning board. They've been identified in the field with a blue and white ribbon. Abutting property owners have been notified at least 45 days in advance of this planned work. Owners with trees identified removal, once we get approval from the planning board, will be spoken with on a one-to-one basis. In that fashion. The work is scheduled to begin in the next few weeks. Our contract with this project is Aspen. That's all I have. Are there any questions?
I'll start with one question. I assume that you have coordinated this with Rick Malasky, DPW?
I can certainly touch base, Rick, and let him know that we have work plans in the town. That's not
Okay. Any other members have any questions or comments? I don't see anybody.
Just one clarification, because it's kind of new to me, but I just want to verify that all the trimming is going to be by chainsaw type methods and clean cut, not the tractor mounted slash that we sometimes see along the sides of the roads, correct?
Absolutely. We use the traditional two-man bucket crew and follow all arboricultural standards.
Yep. That's all I had.
Any other members have any questions or comments? Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment? Okay, I guess I will close, entertain a motion. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the application from Eversource as stated, and that's all.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion, comments? All right, hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Val Shelton?
Aye.
Bill Doucette?
Aye.
Jane Ford?
Aye.
Tim Rosignol?
Aye.
Jeff Goldknopf?
Aye.
Scott Blackstone?
Aye.
And Eric Bodman, I vote aye also. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Bernier. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, folks. Same to you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. New old business. Does anybody have any new or old business they would like to discuss? Hearing none. All right, we need appointments to subcommittees. We have 3 that looks like have openings. Anybody interested in working on the CIP? Diane, I will volunteer for the CIP.
Okay, thank you, Eric. We also have an alternate planning board committee as well.
Does anybody want to be the alternate?
Diane, I can do it.
Okay, thank you, Jane.
What's this, and just for the record, what's the CIP stand for?
Oh, Capital Improvements
Okay.
Program.
Improvement Program.
Thank you.
Stratford Regional Planning. Now, Diane, we have 2 members whose terms have expired, is that correct?
That is correct, and I sent out an email to them just to see if they were interested, and I haven't heard back yet, so perhaps we could postpone this until unless one of the planning board members would like to participate in that, but postpone it to the next meeting.
So Peter Nelson is one of the representatives.
That is correct, and Lisa Henderson, who has been active in affordable housing, workforce housing here in Sure.
Yeah. Okay, I mean, Diane, I think it'd be prudent to wait to see if you hear from them or reach out to them again.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm very comfortable with both of them, so if they want to continue doing it, I don't see any reason to make a change.
Okay,
Unless somebody wants to bite the bullet and take it on themselves. All right, Conservation Commission, anybody interested in working with the Conservation Commission? Jeff?
Jeff's
Excellent.
experienced.
I'll do that.
All right, good. Excellent.
Unless somebody else wants it, then I'll. But I'm more than willing.
I'll arm wrestle you for it, and you'll beat me, so anyway, so.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Jeff.
That starts this Thursday, correct? Or, I think the
They
second
meet
Thursday
the
of every-
second or third Thursday of the month.
Yeah. Moving on to Chairman's report, I don't have anything to report, but Diane, I have a question. I guess this is probably the appropriate place to ask it is, any word on full-on meetings, not Zoom anymore? Any talk in town hall about when that's gonna occur?
Resuming normal meetings. I haven't
Yes.
heard anything, and I thought that by May we would be resuming normal meetings, but
Okay.
until the town council and the town manager announce what that new plan will be and when it will go into effect, I think it's status quo.
No, sure, absolutely. I was just curious if there was any discussion, in town
I
hall.
haven't
That's
heard
fine.
anything.
Committee.
Can I ask about?
Go ahead, Jeff.
To that question, is it open to all members if we want to just go to town hall? for
Yes.
meetings? Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Probably start
It's
doing
an
that next
option.
month to
Yep.
It's an option.
noise of home.
Committee reports. Is there anybody have any reports? Planners report. Diane, is there anything?
I don't have anything other than the planning conference, I guess is May 15th. I don't know.
Yes,
Have
I am
you-
signed
have
up for
you signed
that.
up, Tim? Great.
Yes.
And Jane, no? Okay. But anyway, that is coming up, and if you had, I hope you've signed up and
Yes.
registered.
Yeah, I've got the
Okay.
confirmation email. I'll
Very good.
be watching
Yeah.
that.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Alrighty. Last agenda item. Before we get to the last agenda, I just would like to say one thing is, thank everybody for the input tonight. I think it was a good, healthy discussion. We had some interesting issues in front of us. I think it was very good to have some dissenting opinions and have some good discussion. But thank you all for that. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, and Eric, I think you ran a very good meeting.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll second that motion and comment.
Val, it's usually you that does that. You the brains behind it, but thank you very much. All right, any discussion? Anybody want to just sit around and talk for a while before we adjourn? I'll do a roll call vote. If you're aye, Val Shelton,
Aye.
Bill Doucette,
Aye.
Jane Ford,
Aye.
Tim Rosignol,
Aye.
Jeff Golub,
Aye.
Blackstone.
Before I say aye, I'd just like to congratulate Val on becoming on the board of Great Bay Stewards, which is a pretty significant organization, and I congratulate her. And I say aye.
Oh, great, I didn't know that, Val, yes, congratulations. Eric Bottom and I vote aye. Motion passes unanimously, 7-0. Thank you all very much. We will, see you next month, if not sooner.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.